All right, so welcome back. So here in episode two, we're going to deal with the board component and think about what components it's going to have. So I'm going to go to my mastermind, the actual game, and we already talked about this. It's going to have one, two, three components, and then the second component is going to have components within it. This one either will make it. We could make it two components. We'll probably just make it one. And this component right here, the tray with all the colors, we could make it one big component, or we could make it one big component with six small components. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there, and that might be in a different video. In fact, I'm pretty sure it will. So let's look for these. Let's just make these three components. Let's call this one, because under this, remember, is the answer. So let's call this the answer component. Let's call this the guesses, plural component. So this is one guess, and this is a bunch of guesses. And let's call this the peg tray, because that's what it is in the physical game. This is a tray full of pegs. So let's go to the command line, and I'm going to remember Control C turns off it shuts down the server. And I'm just hitting the up arrow to go through my other things. Remember I did ng generate component board. This was generate an angular component called board. I remember before I also said about the dash G. Well, I'm just going to show. If I can just make a G by itself, and that's generate. ng G component, and it's called answer. So we have a component called answer. That was part of the plan. I'm hitting my up arrow. We have a component called guesses. Hitting my up arrow again, and we have a component called guess tray. No, peg tray. Peg dash tray. Let's do it like that. All right. So back in Adam, these three things were created for us, but they didn't put them. I could have just left things the way they were. They got answer, we got guesses, and we got peg tray. I want to put each one of these inside of the components. And when I do that, this is going to turn red. Something's going to turn red here. I'm going to click this app.module, and it hasn't turned red yet. But you saw it added my answers component. There they are. There's those red lines popping up. I added the guesses component, and I added the peg tray component. And it doesn't know where they are. This one still hasn't turned red. Just kind of did I put that in there? In my components, I have answer, I have board, I have guesses, and I have peg tray. All right. So what I basically need to do is just what I did here. I need to put, this becomes components / answer. So let's just do that to all three. Command C, Command, why would I do that? I guess I can do that. Command V, Command V. So we just had to make them have the correct paths, but it put all of these here for us. So most of the CSS, I don't want to make this a CSS tutorial because I'm sure if you're this far in Angular, you're studying Angular 2, you know CSS. And the other reason I don't want to do a CSS tutorial is because whenever I do CSS, I'm like, oh, a little to the left, a little to the right, a little brighter, a little dimmer. Let's make this bold. You know, I could just tweak it for hours. And I don't want to watch, you guys probably don't want to watch me tweak things back and forth for hours. So I'm not going to focus a lot on the CSS. But one of the things I like to do is outline stuff just when I'm framing it in, just outline it so you can see it. So I have these three new components, and I have them inside of the board. The board has its, notice this board.component.css. This is the CSS that deals with this HTML. And all of the components have that. However, if you're looking at the rest of these files, you see the styles.css. I clicked on it and it says you can add global styles to this file and also import other style files. Well, I'm just going to copy and paste from another style file. I think I have it over here. Styles.css. Command C. Back over. Man, wasn't it right here? Wasn't it right there? Oh, it's playing with me. Right here? Okay. I'm going to put it. I'm going to overwrite this line. Command V. So let me show you these styles I made. Circle. This is going to take, it turns a square into a circle. Flexor. It turns a container, or turns like a div into a flex container. If I give something the class wrapper, it gives it a width of 100 and a height of 100 and margin and padding of 0. Red, blue, green, yellow, black, purple just gives it a background color of those colors. So I'm going to save that. And I just gave the body the height of 100, so the whole screen. And the background, I just gave some crazy linear gradient, okay, just for the heck of it. And now, well, we could take a look at it. Let's do that. I did shut down the server, so let's bring that back up. ng servant, doesn't matter. And it's going to have to it's going to do that thing where it builds it. So if you don't have to shut down the server, you don't have to do this every time. Every time you shut down the server, you're asking for this to happen. But otherwise, it updates automatically. Here we go. And this is what I added to it. Each of these components, where did they go? Close the app. Okay, let's start with the board. CSS. We didn't make a class called board, but I want to make a wrapper class called board, answer, guesses, and peg tray on the elements that they're in. So let's go to board, HTML. I'm going to make a div tab, class wrapper. And then, well, we're going to get rid of this, but I'm going to put it back in there for now. It's inside of this wrapper. Remember, this wrapper has this, and I'm also going to do a box me. And if you say, I didn't see something called box me, I'm going to add it to this styles. Box, let's make it called box dash me. So I'll have to go back and change that. And we'll make that a border. 1px solid black. So we're going to be able to see the things we create. So where did I just make that? Right here? No, right here. And I got it. It's box dash me. Okay. So let's see what this looks like now. All right. Okay, so we got a border. It boxed it. Okay, but now we're going to go to give the board its own CSS. Now, I'm going to give this one a class of BOARD. So there's a wrapper and a board. The wrapper is just talking to the general CSS, and the board is talking to the specific CSS, and that's just my own thing. if you're doing things in Bootstrap, then close your eyes and hold your breath and let this part pass by. So the width, let's make a width of, I don't know, 40%. But we don't want to let it go. A min width of, I don't know, 380 pixels. And a max width, because it could look funny, of 500 pixels. Let's give it a height of 95 VH. That's 95% of the view height. And let's give it a box. Oh, let's give it a a min height of I don't know what this will look like. I want to give it a box shadow because I give everything box shadows. 2px, 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 5px, black. And ever so slightly, we're going to curve the edges. All right. And you see it goes past this. Why does it do that? And it's because of this thing that says mic. So I want it centered. So let's give it a margin of 2.5 px. That's the top and the bottom, and the left and the right, we're going to say auto. And I'm going to do one last thing. Box sizing, border box. Like I said, this isn't about CSS, so I'm not going to like talk in depth about what everything does. So here we go. If you don't like that it's going low like this, well, you shouldn't. But the thing is, once I get rid of this mic right here, I think that's going to change. So let's just do that. That was in the app. HTML. Boom. There we go. There we go. Okay, board works. And let's just, is it responsive? See how it doesn't get any smaller than that. I like that. And it might even be too wide. So let's, like I said, I can go back and forth forever. So this is going to be it. Board component, where did my CSS go? The max width is going to be 450. Okay, I'm not even going to go back and check. Okay, so let's go back to this. We got the board. So let's go to the board, to the HTML of the board. And let's take this out and let's put in three things in the board. We're going to put in the answer, there's an answer component. Oh, but it's not called answer. Let's look at what it's called. If we look in this TS file, it says call my selector app/answer. So if you don't want to call it app/answer, you could just erase it right here. But let's say I wanted to make, instead of everything say app, to say mastermind or mm-answer, because it's an component. I thought it'd be really cool to have that. One of the things in my package JSON, don't make a liar out of me. It says, what do you want to add in package JSON? There's a few other config files here, but I thought it wasn't that one. Oh my goodness, it is, well, I think it's this one. This is this angular-cli.json. But one of these, you define what you call it, and that's probably not it. Okay, but that's a small issue for me. So I'm going to go back to the board, to HTML, and remember, it's not called answer, it's called app.answer. Command C, Command V. And then under the answer, we're going to have the guesses. And as you're going to see, it's called app dash guesses. Command C. Let's go to the board. Put them back in the board. Command V. Command V. And let's go to, what would be the last one? Is peg tray. Components, board, guesses, peg tray, and app dash peg dash tray. Command C. I don't know what that's telling me there. We were back in the board, the HTML. Command V. Command V. And then in each one of these, it's probably not going to look too much different because these don't have sizes or anything. There's nothing to these. We didn't put that wrapper thing in them like we did on the board itself, but we're going to. So if you look at it now, see, answers work, guesses work, peg tray works. That's all that has it. That was that stuff. But we're going to change that really quick. So let's start with the answer. I'm going to go to the HTML. And we're going to make a div. And we're going to give a new class wrapper. We're going to give it a class boxme. We're going to give it a class answer. Okay, and for right now, we'll put this in there. All of it. Okay, and then in the specifics of this, I'm gonna copy this from the board. I'm gonna copy this. Command C, and I'm gonna go over to here to the answer to their CSS. I'm gonna copy it. This is called answer. Box sizing border box I want to keep width is going to be 100. It's always going to be that. The height is going to be, we're going to have like 10, 8, 9, 10, 11 things there. We're going to say, let's just say 10%. And we're going to keep, so view height, let's say 10%. The minimum height, we're not going to have a minimum height. Box shadow, we're not going to have a box shadow on that itself. Also not have a border radius on it. And a margin, nope. So let's see what this looks like. Answer works. I don't like how it doesn't fit in there. So there's something about this answer works should be sitting in there. So let's do it. We're going to inspect. Answer works. I'm inspecting it. And man, there's like a ton. Is it the P tag has all that margin? Is that what that is? If so, let's just, so it looks to me like these P's are causing the problem. So for example, if we just did this, yeah, I put it in there. Because P's have built-in margin on top and bottom, and we don't want that. Okay. The board, so I'm going to use my, I'm going to take this, Command C. We got the answer, we're going to go to the guesses. The HTML, we're going to put this in a div. And we're going to make it a wrapper, boxme, and guesses plural. And for right now, I'm just going to take that out. With that, we call this guesses box sizing border box can actually stay. Width is going to be 100. There's no min max. The height is going to be, so the other one was 10. We're going to have 9 of these, and that's 90. So let's call it 8. Let's call it 8. No, well, sorry. It's going to call it 80. 80. This is 80% basic. 80, we'll call it percent. Did we call the other one percent, or do we call it view height? 10%. Yeah, let's be consistent. Because anyway, no min, no max, no worries, all that can go. And we got rid of the text in there, so it should say I shouldn't have to hit refresh. And close that. Okay, so guess as, that's one thing. Our HTML is called guesses. Box me, it doesn't say anything. So if it says howdy, it's supposed to be a Y. Then hopefully that would show up. Okay, howdy. And we don't see the bottom box. Is this it? Let's change those percents to view heights, because I really wanted to say percent of the parent box, but it doesn't look like it did that. So I know that this is 95 VH. So if we make this 9 VH, we can make this 80 VH, or like 75 VH. So let's go back and change that. So we have to change it in the answer as well. We're going to make it 9 VH, and we're going to make this, for right now, 75 VH. And box sizing border US guesses. And that might have had a lot to do with the part where you should say that. You say guesses. Okay. All right. I'm liking this more. And then the peg tray works. So this has to add up. This height plus this height plus this height has to add up to 95. So what's the so this was 75, that's 84, that's 84, that would be 11. But I think instead of giving this more, I think I'm going to give, I don't want to think about all that in front of me because I don't want to waste any time on the easy parts. I want to waste time on the hard parts. So the peg tray, the HTML, for right now, come on, quit doing that to me. Let's just keep that there. Div, wrapper, box me, and peg dash tray. And I want this, but I don't want the p tags. And I'm going to have some more CSS, but not all of this. Let's see, so box sizing border box can stay. The width is going to be 100%. So these guys go. So what I got, I'm going to make it 95. I got 984. This is like an 11. We'll just keep that for now. But we don't need this. We don't need this. We don't need this. Command S. Okay. So, and then we have this mystery. What in the world is that? What in the world is that? I have no idea what that is. I'm really curious. So, well, I'll tell you what's so bad about it. I shouldn't be able, it just shouldn't be there. I mean, how many ways you got to say it? So, where did that happen? This is board. The board, this says board. First of all, I think I got it already. Peg dash tray. Okay, yeah, that was, when I copied and pasted it, I didn't change the name. Well, okay, so as if it looks to you I'm building these components simultaneously, well, it should, But honestly, that is not how you build. I mean, but you can build them simultaneously, and there's always going to be a little back and forth. But I'm going to start focusing a lot on just the peg tray, and we're going to have to bring one of the besides components. One of the things you can that another component type deal is there's services, there's directives, there's pipes. Um, we're going to use a service, and what that service is going to do, it's going to keep track of variables that get passed back and forth between components. Services can do all kinds of things. I always like to have a service that keeps track of my data variables, especially in Angular 2/4, because AngularJS had something called two-way data bindings, and I'm not talking about the model and the view. I'm talking about parent and child passing information back and forth. Well, we're going to do that a different way. We're going to use services here in Angular 2, although it's a non-opinionated framework, so there's more than one way to do it, more than one way to skin a cat. So I'll see you next time.